Should I invest now or wait for the crash? That
Ooh,
is the
okay.
letterhead of today's episode. Howdy, Chris and Dom. Howdy. I am 20 years old. I'm 20 years old who has been dabbling in trading on and off since I was 18. I would say I have much experience, but I've always been interested in money and investing. Lately, though, I feel completely stuck. Like I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, deciding if I should jump in or just walk away. Everywhere I look, the market feels like it's on fire. Record highs, constant hype, and everyone's talking about how much they're making. Careful with that one. But deep down, I can't shake the feeling that it's all about to burst. It feels like buying a TV at full price right before Black Friday. Yeah, don't buy a TV right before Black Friday. Not smart. I keep asking myself, am I being smart by waiting or am I just letting fear hold me back? I know people say time in the market beats timing the market, but that's hard to internalize when everything feels so inflated. I guess the part of me, I guess part of me is worried about jumping in and losing it all right as it crashes. Yeah, there's so much I want to say on this. I can't wait till the end of this. Okay, all right. Um, After reading a bunch of comments online, I feel like I got to highlight so many points in here. That's another not smart thing to do. I realized that maybe I'm thinking too short term for my age. I've been considering starting a simple DCA dollar cost averaging strategy with a friend for the next 5 to 10 years. For
Why?
plan
With a
with a
friend?
friend for the next 5 to 10 years. Huh, we'll get into that as well. Just to get in the game and stop overthinking every move. Well, whatever gets you in, I guess. Um, but here's my real question. I feel like we have tons of questions here. How do you balance the fear of losing money with the need to just start investing? You don't. How do you know when when it's a smart move versus you're just being scared? You don't. um, Chris is gonna drop some wisdom on us, hopefully. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially for someone who's young and wants to do the right thing, but can't tell if it's patience or courage is the better play right now. From Crash or Cash, a young investor's clash. Should I buy or fly? Why the market's sky feels so high. Wow. I feel like I should just highlight the whole article, go line by line, and just answer every question that wasn't even asked.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
lot. There's a lot in here. I don't know how
there's so
if
much
I
in
I feel
there.
like we're gonna miss out on a few things, but, we'll do our best. Before I get into my stuff, what's your thought process? Because, I'm already worried I'm gonna forget about things. There was a lot
I'm
of things in there.
actively forgetting things right now. One thing that I know is fear never leaves you. It's very important that you always feel fear in your life. I think if you're not doing something scary or where you feel fearful, you're probably not doing things big enough, right? Now, I want to also delineate the difference between fear and danger. Fear is in the mind, danger is very real, right? I have a fear of someone breaking into my house is a lot different than somebody's in my house with a gun. Very big difference. Very, very big difference. So it's very important to really know yourself and calm the mind and understand the difference between fear and danger because oftentimes we think they're one and they are not. So just want to make that first thing known. One of your first questions is how do you balance the fear of losing money with the need to start investing? You are going to lose money. There's no question about it. The greatest investors have always lost money. In fact, the greatest investors usually lose the most money. Um, but it's how they
I think
react.
we need to preface that too, though, is like, what do you
Yes,
mean by losing money? Like, if you put money in, you dollar cost average, you don't like, yes, money's gonna go up and down, but you don't actually lock in those losses until you sell.
that's true. That's true. Right?
So it
If
all
you bought a
depends on how
stock,
you wanna frame what is losing, what is winning.
and that's a great segue. How you frame everything is how your body is going to react. I was working with a buddy of mine yesterday, and he's like, "Man, this sucks. We have so much work to do." And I was like, well, at least you're not working with someone you hate. At least you're working with me. He's like, you know what? That's actually a really great point. That actually, I feel a lot happier now. And the work went by quick and we got it all done. And it was a great day. How you frame everything dictates how you see everything. And how you see everything is going to affect how you live. And that's very important. Um, I don't, how would you frame this, Chris? As someone, as a newbie like this, how do you frame it properly?
I think the way that you frame it is by realizing that you're ahead of you're this guy's 20 years old. He's ahead of 99% of his cohort in terms of like thinking about this stuff of investing. The way I would frame it is, hey, I'm doing this for the long term. Like it doesn't matter what happens today, tomorrow, whatever. I'm 20 years old. I'm going to invest for the long term for a future in 20, 30, 45 years when I can retire and use this money. And how do I live for today? And that's the conundrum. That's what makes personal finance so personal. How do I live for today while also planning for tomorrow? Too many people want to go to the extreme every time of like, I'm either going to YOLO it and spend everything, or I'm going to save everything for the future and not live for today. And it's almost impossible because there is no right answer. You're constantly on the knife's edge of balancing left, right, left, right, left, right. And that's the reason that that's self-awareness. That's where you have to try to figure out and like walk down that path. Um, but I think the big or do you have any other points before we kind of get into like what I think the biggest question this person is asking is?
No, let's go for it.
So what it sounds like the biggest thing to me that this person's asking is the market's really high, things are scary. I should just wait, right? And to be totally honest, I have been hearing people say that as a financial coach and consultant for the last 3 years, and for the last 10 years as a financial advisor, minus a little bit of time during 2020. That's all I've been hearing. The market's way too high. It's going to crash. We should get out. We should just sit in cash. It's all scary. This is wait. Had you not done anything for the past 10 years, had you not done anything for the past 3 years, you would have missed out on some of the best returns in history. And the reason for that isn't because the market's on a tear, isn't because AI is winning. It's because the government will not stop printing money. It's because inflation is happening at a record pace. And smart money knows that you have to buy assets, not sit in cash. So all the people that are sitting here in fear saying, well, at least I still have my money, that money is getting devalued at a rate we have never seen before in history. I hate that we live in a system that forces us to gamble in order to try just to keep up with where we were. Yet that is the system that we find ourselves in. So rather than complaining and bitching about it, you do something about it. And by investing, by remembering that it's a long-term play, by dollar cost averaging, just like you said, that's how you do it. To our reader, like you're ahead of 99% of people your age. You're thinking about investing, asking smart questions, and recognizing your emotions before you're actually acting. That's maturity that most people don't hit until they've already made like some pretty expensive mistakes, very expensive mistakes. Because that fear that you're feeling, it's not a red flag, that's awareness. And that awareness is a really good thing. Every great investor starts by feeling like the market's about to crash. The trick isn't to eliminate the fear, it's to learn how to invest despite the fear. Because there's always going to be fear because we don't know what the future holds. No one does. Anyone that tells you they know what the future holds, get the hell away from them because they're lying. Because people that have tried to wait for the dip, it's like waiting for the perfect wave that never comes. And as a surfer, if you're the guy who's like, I'm going to take this one, no, it's not good enough. I'm going to take this one, no, it's not good enough. You're never going to go. You're just going to sit out there. I recently just got back from Hawaii, and whenever I go to Hawaii, I love to just go and free dive and snorkel. It's like my favorite thing in the world. And one thing that I find myself is like, it's like this constant dopamine trip because I go and I'll find something. Oh man, there's an awesome sea turtle or this awesome thing or an eel. Every time I go out there, I look for octopi. Like I love finding octopus. It's like the hardest thing to find. It's really a needle in the haystack. But for me, as I'm looking for these octopus, like I'm passing up all these other great things. And sometimes I'll come in and like I'll hear people on the shoreline. They're like, "Man, did you see that cool fish or that turtle?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, who cares about that stuff? I'm waiting for the perfect thing to find it." And when I find those perfect things, I miss it because that was perfect, but I was looking for something different. And it sounds like you might be in the same thing. You're waiting for the perfect time, and there is no perfect time. The perfect time is whatever you determine it to be. So You'll either, if you wait for the perfect time, you're either going to miss or you're going to panic when it actually hits, like most people do. Because markets always feel overpriced in the short term and undervalued in hindsight. That's the way it's always worked. Because everyone always thinks, you know what, I'm going to invest when things are bad. But the reason that, and then they think of it's going to be just like today, everything's normal, and the stock market's down by 50% for whatever reason. But if the stock market is down by 50%, people are basically believing the world is going to end. And then that's when you're going to say, I'm going to do it. Think about COVID. Markets dropped by 30%. Everyone's like, all right, this is not a buying opportunity though, because this time is different. The most famous words of every investor before they F something up. This time is different. Remember that investing is not an event. It's a habit. You're not buying a single stock. You're building a system that future you, helps future you win slowly and consistently. That's why dollar cost averaging is such a superpower for someone in their 20s. If you've invested for 10 years, what happens in the next 12 months barely matters. Especially at 20 years old, you're investing for the next 45 years. So what happens in the next 12 months doesn't matter at all. The market could drop 30% tomorrow, the day after you invested everything, and it would still be a blip on a long-term chart. A blip that if you expanded out far enough over 40 years, you wouldn't even be able to delineate with your own eyes. So time, not timing, is the biggest advantage that you have as a 20-year-old. You're not Warren Buffett. You're not some quant trader who has the ability to beat everyone else. Everyone thinks they do and they don't. You don't need to beat the market. You just need to join it and stay there. Most professional investors underperform simply because they jump in and out, and they jump in and out too often, which consistently crushes their clever little dreams over time. And when you also incorporate how much you have to pay in taxes when you're jumping in and out, it just further compounds the issues because most people aren't investing in IRAs or in tax shelter things. So I want you to think about this like you're training for jujitsu or for fitness. You don't have you don't build muscle in one workout. You build it through consistent reps, even on the days that you're sure it's not working. Investing is the exact same thing. It's boring. It feels like you're not doing anything. That is the point of it. And that's what the sucky part about it is. You know, people will go into investing just like they do into the gym. And they get into the gym the first few days, it's like, man, I see so much growth. And then it just plateaus. It's the exact same thing as investing. Man, I see all this growth and then it just plateaus. And that's the boring middle, but that's the point of which you know it's working. So don't try to outsmart the market, try to outdiscipline it. Automate your contributions, set up recurring investment amounts, and remove your emotions from the process. The less you touch it, the more it grows. And this is like one of the few things in life that you can just set it and legitimately forget it, and you'll be way better off than if you go in there and F with it every 10 minutes. Because you need to focus on learning, not on earning, at least for the first few years of investing. That means that you need to read, watch, listen, and experiment with small amounts because you're early in your investment journey. And this is like tuition for financial literacy. And hopefully, the literacy you learned is to just set it and get the hell out of the way. The final thing I want to say, you have to remember that clarity is far more important than certainty. You will never be certain if what you're going to do is going to work. You'll never have certainty about the markets, about your life, about anything. But you can have clarity about your goals, your time horizon, your behavior that you're going to put into it. That's what keeps you grounded when every single other person in the world is panicking. That's what keeps you allowed to win when everyone else is freaking the hell out. And that's pretty damn cool. That's what financial independence provides us. An ability to control ourselves when everyone else is freaking out. That's it. I,
I
I
love
hope
it.
I hope I give him something.
No, I think a lesson for all of us is perfection is the enemy of progress. So do it to the best of your ability. Always keep improving. And perfection is a beautiful thing, but I don't think it can ever be achieved. That's my take, though. That's my
Yeah.
take.
So good luck from California. Good luck from Arizona. You are in a great spot. 20 years old. Just just do what you think is best.
Yeah.
But do something. Do
Yeah.
something.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.